It is so great to see all of you here. I see students, faculty, staff, friends of Bates, and it's always terrific to feel the energy that a new school year brings. Although I have to say, after spending the morning with the class of 2021, I think we've beaten you down pretty good now between orientation and ASOP. So bear with us. You just have to sit and listen. So I am so thrilled that you members of the class of 2021 have chosen to become part of the Bates community. We are thrilled that you're here, and I can't wait to see what you will accomplish in these next 4 years. As your friends in the classes of 2020, 19, and 18 will tell you, these 4 years will pass much faster than you can imagine. So I encourage all of you to begin immediately to dive in and take full advantage of everything Bates has to offer. You should dive into your courses once we start them. That's tomorrow. Branch out to make friends. Get to know your professors. You'll hear more about that today. Come to my office hours. You can complain about anything and figure out how you want to think about moving through life on this campus. And class of 2021, remember, as you sit here today, with your whole class assembled in one place, in this place, the next time you will be together like this, in this spot, will be your graduation in May of 2021. So you can think about this as the bookend of your experience at Bates, the front bookend. Let me give you a sense of how the ceremony will proceed. After a few remarks from me, you will be welcomed by your student government president, Walter Washington. Following Walter, we will have the convocation address delivered by Professor of Sociology Emily Kane. And finally, at the end of the ceremony, Brittany Longsdorf, our multi-faith chaplain, will lead us in a benediction, after which we will process out as we processed in, led by the mace bearer and our faculty marshals. There will then be a brief tree planting ceremony over on that side of campus, honoring those members of our community who died during this past year. Before I turn to a few remarks of my own, I would like to welcome and introduce our two guest speakers. Walter Washington is a junior from Fleetwood, New York. He's a politics major, a football player, and a member of the Dean's Men, one of Bates' fabulous a cappella groups, which I think you'll see tonight. He's a very talented person who is not shy about letting me know what students are thinking and what we can do to make Bates better. He is your student government president and a terrific representative of your interests. So you'll meet him, hear some wonderful words from him, and then you'll know where to find him. Our second speaker is Professor of Sociology Emily Kane, who this fall begins her 22nd year at Bates. Her research and teaching focus on inequalities of race, class, gender, and sexuality, gender and family, and the sociology of childhood. Professor Kane was chosen as convocation speaker when we decided at the end of last year to resuscitate what was once a tradition at Bates, asking the outgoing senior class to select a faculty speaker for the convocation of the incoming freshman class. So, in this case, last year's seniors, the class of 2017, selected Professor Emily Kane to address you today as their gift to you. Let me tell you, they chose brilliantly. Professor Kane has written 2 books, The Gender Trap, on how parents reproduce and resist gendered childhoods, and Rethinking Gender and Sexuality in Childhood, which is a textbook. Other recent publications include examinations of how social service providers balance individual and structural explanations for poverty, the use of disciplinary debates to engage students in public sociology, and the politics of knowledge in community-based research. On this last point, Professor Kane is known at Bates and beyond as a particular expert. Throughout her career at Bates, she has demonstrated a passion and talent for incorporating community-engaged learning into her courses. She collaborates with our Harvard Center for Community Partnerships to create experiences that provide significant benefits both to her students and to the community organizations with which they work. Professor Kane has also worked with the Harvard Center to create a progressive, community-engaged learning curriculum. As students move from first-year seminars to upper-level courses, they delve deeper into research that serves community needs and expand their understanding of the field of sociology. Emily Kane is held in wonderfully high regard by students and faculty colleagues alike. She is famously organized and determined in everything she undertakes, and she has served Bates in countless leadership capacities over the years, among many others, leading her department and her division, participating in and chairing crucial search committees, co-chairing our accreditation process, and developing our thriving course design and practitioner-taught course programs in short term. She is a brilliant scholar, an outstanding teacher, and the very definition of a Bates faculty leader. We are privileged to hear from her today. Now, before I turn the podium over to our two distinguished colleagues, I want to take a couple of minutes to reflect on the context in which we begin this new academic year. I cannot remember a time in my professional experience when matters of context and principle have intruded so insistently into the project of teaching the next generation of students. This year, in the midst of our rituals of welcome and celebration, we find ourselves confronted with brazen displays of racism, anti-Semitism, hatred, and violence in Charlottesville, frequent accounts of racially motivated killings in cities across our country, and a national discourse driven too often by impulse rather than informed thought, and laced with intolerance, dishonesty, and verbal violence. It suddenly feels urgent to bring to consciousness for ourselves and our students the values that shape the education we offer here at Bates. Some of these values are the foundational commitment to the liberal arts, which we take for granted at our peril. Other values may be, in fact, unexamined assumptions about what and how we teach that can have a distorting impact on both the content of the curriculum and the success of our students. Only if we examine our animating values can we hope to understand what is at stake in the current national context and how we can play our part in putting things right. The Bates mission statement frames the project of education in a radical and distinctive way. We invoke the emancipating potential of the liberal arts, and we invite our students to engage the transformative power of our differences, cultivating intellectual discovery and informed civic action. These principles were revisited and restated by the Bates community in 2010, and I would suggest that they need to be brought to the surface with fierce attention in the fall of 2017. We believe in truth. We believe that knowledge is hard won and that meaning is a personal struggle that each of us tackles in our own way. We believe that learning is more powerful when it happens in community, with the inspiration of dedicated teachers and scholars and the solidarity of friends and fellow travelers. We understand that hard problems do not admit of glib or easy answers. Rather, they are solved incrementally and over time, often with painstaking work that builds on the knowledge of previous generations and gains strength through the insights of contemporary colleagues. This is called expertise. It is developed in institutions like colleges and universities, and it is safeguarded by respect for standards of inquiry and expression. Expertise matters because it brings the promise of making lives and life on this planet better. We teach our students to reason from evidence. We believe that facts matter. A college campus is a culture that depends on persuasion and reason-giving, not on authority derived from power or position. We give reasons for believing that something is true because we trust in the good faith and agency of others, including the agency to freely disagree. These principles make open and robust discourse on a college campus possible, they make democracy possible, and they make it possible for us to cultivate our common humanity. Bates was founded on the principle that education is meant to develop the full potential of every human being. We achieve this goal by treating all persons as equal and worthy. An offer of admission to Bates is a validation of talent and ambition, and a vote of confidence in the ability of every student to engage the full promise of a Bates education. As we have learned repeatedly and painfully over the past several years, however, there remains a gap at Bates between our ideals of equality and the lived experience of some of our students. It is imperative, therefore, that we persevere in the hard work of examining our curriculum and teaching, together with the formal and informal structures that define student life, to make sure that we cease to perpetuate assumptions or practices that exclude groups of students or diminish their experience. We believe that engaging with difference is a powerful force for good. In education, it is a source of growth and transformation, whether difference is encountered in the person or point of view of another human being, in a difficult text, or in a problem set or experiment using tools and methods new to us. We encourage our students to approach ideas and each other with openness and generosity. We are explicit at Bates that we mean to educate the whole person. The liberal arts have always been about head and heart, knowledge and wisdom, expertise and empathy. As Brian Stevens' riveting memoir, Just Mercy, so powerfully illustrates, what we do and the choices we make matter every bit as much as what we know. As we move into the new academic year, we have our work cut out for us. Never has the humanistic project of the liberal arts been more important. Never has this form of education been more needed or more challenged. This is not a time to lose heart. It is a time to take up our work with new resolve. It is inspiring to work with students as they learn to find their way and begin to ask themselves what they can do to make the world a better place. This is the promise of Bates, and it is up to all of us as a college and a community to carry it forward. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. And welcome to the 2017-2018 academic year. Greetings to all faculty, staff, returning students, and most importantly to the class of 2021. Congratulations, you're all officially Bobcats. It was not too long ago, 2 years specifically, that I sat in the very seat you all are sitting in right now. I remember it was a pretty hot day, and as I sat there in the heat listening to all the speakers tell us how amazing these next 4 years would be, I somehow could not keep my mind off of how much I missed my mom and her home cooking. What was also running through my mind was how in the world I was supposed to navigate these next 4 years. Manage to get straight A's, make friends, play football, sleep, and find time to get involved, all while trying to make my law school application more compelling than the next. I'll be honest, I had no idea how, but what became apparent to me was that not knowing was okay, and that it would take time to adjust. I can tell you right now how my academic life somehow intertwined with my social life here at Bates. How my first year seminar, Searching for the Good Life with Professor Michael Sargent, changed my overall outlook on life's journey. Or how constitutional law with my advisor, Professor Stephen Engel, reinforced my desire to continue a career, immersing myself within law and politics. But what I want to talk to you about today places Bates somewhat in the background. Let's go back to the summer of 2014, when I was a rising senior in high school. I was ecstatic not only because I was on my way to becoming a senior, but also because I was transferring to a lovely boarding school in Reedfield, Maine. I spent the summer training, getting ready for football season, when my family's life took an unexpected turn. I found out that my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I have 5 siblings. I'm the youngest. And with such a close-knit family, you can imagine the heartbreak that this brought upon us. I watched my mother my entire life give so much of herself and also take care of everyone else. I was also very angry, to be completely honest, that this had to happen to my mother, someone so genuine and someone so kind. I immediately told my parents that I wasn't going to transfer high schools, and they basically told me in no uncertain terms that I had an opportunity and that I was going to take it. I went through my senior year trying to focus on school as much as I possibly could, but everything in me just wanted to be back home with my mom. With cancer, there comes chemotherapy, radiation, hospital stays, doctor visits, and all of that cost a pretty penny. And meanwhile, I had a $52,000 boarding school education to worry about. There were times when I would get called into the business office, and they would tell me if my parents couldn't keep up with the tuition, that I would be kicked out of school. As a senior applying to colleges, you can imagine how difficult that would have been. Back home, my mother's health was deteriorating, and the one thing I wanted was for her to see me graduate. She did, and was able to watch me go through my freshman year of college. Fast forward to sophomore year, and her good days were off and on. Luckily, she was able to string together a few good days during the fall to come up during Parents' Weekend. And that weekend, she watched her son sing a solo in his newly joined a cappella group and register his first college sack against Williams. That was a pretty awesome weekend. The winter came, and it was pretty tough, as she was again great for a few days and back in the hospital days later. We spent Christmas in the hospital as she had another surgery. The new year arrives, and I hear a lot from my parents during the month of January, telling me that things are looking great after my mom's second surgery, and she's stringing together constant good days. To make a very, very long story short, February comes along, and on a random Wednesday, I get a call from my mother asking me if I was sitting down. She tells me that she had a visit to her doctor, they ran all of these tests, and they couldn't find any more cancer in her body. An amazing miracle, but I'm sure you're truly wondering, how does Bates fit into that story? And I'll tell you, there is no way, absolutely no way, that I could have persevered through such an ordeal without being a part of the community that is Bates. My coaches became more than just coaches, but a supportive resource for me outside of my academics. Jessica Perez, my student support advisor, was always willing to talk and made herself available for whatever I needed. And how could I forget my two best friends, Nolan Burgos and Brandon Galloway, who quickly became my brothers. They were always around not only for conversation and a great laugh, but they also challenged me to be the best possible person I could be, and to not let such a situation define my time here. Bates is more than just a college. It's an accepting, strong, encouraging community, and filled with people that you will someday call your family. On a larger scale, the true moral of that story is that in the midst of all the success, joy, and accomplishments you will have here at Bates, I can also guarantee you that there will also be times where you feel like you cannot keep going, where that problem set becomes too difficult to complete, where all of your professors are assigning homework as if theirs is the only class that you have, or when it's finals week, and your nights sleeping in Peagill Hall are still not long enough to help you retain all of the material for that terrifying cumulative exam. But take a moment and look at the people to your left and to your right. This place, the people sitting right next to you, the relationships, friendships, and extended family you will make during your next 4 years here. It is that makes this place so special. My freshman year, I knew this kid who was a shell of himself. He was quiet, he joined no clubs, he didn't go to gala, and he was terrified to walk into the jungle that is Commons. I say that for all of you to understand that where you are right now, captivated by those feelings of excitement, anxiousness, and probably a pinch of fear, are all perfectly okay. More importantly, I guarantee you that those feelings will someday fade, because that same terrified, uninvolved, and quiet freshman joined an a cappella group, got involved within a few committees, became student body president, and now has the fortuitous opportunity to begin his junior year speaking to all of you. It was Mark Twain who said, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do rather than the things you did do. So as you go through this 4-year journey, I challenge you all to explore, travel, take that class, dance with your Commons crush at gala, and do the very thing that even your wildest of dreams cannot have you do, because this is the place for it. As you experience all the great things that this place has to offer, I'll leave you with 3 final tips. 1, call your parents and the people that you love, because they're worried about you and expecting a call. Secondly, do your laundry on Mondays. Everyone does it during the weekend. You're going to have to wait forever for a dryer. And lastly, make sure you actually go to class. There are like 30 people in each, so your professors will know when you aren't there. Your next 4 years here are not just a cliche learning experience, learning opportunity, or a time for you to carry out the liberal arts mission. Your time here is something much more than that. It is the definition of a truly unique journey. As you go through this journey, allow Bates to help you define yourself. and take the time to not only use Bates to catapult you into your future, but as a fundamental cornerstone of your right now. Explore, dream, go out and change the world, because this is the place for it. Once again, welcome to Bates, and we are so proud to welcome you into your new family. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, President Spencer, for that very generous introduction. And Walter, what a beautiful story and great advice. That was fantastic to listen to. It's an honor to be here, to welcome new students to the college and to the new academic year, to welcome the brand new faculty joining us today, and to welcome back returning students, faculty, and staff. I know all of you out there in the class of 2021 and the transferred students from other class years have heard really a chorus of welcomes over those many days that President Spencer referred to throughout orientation. I hope that the welcome I'm about to offer can add at least a little bit of a new angle on what you've been hearing so far. So here's what I'm going to do. To get started, I'm going to tell you about just 7 of the many, many posts that have shown up in my social media feed and in my email over the summer. First, I want to tell you about a fellow sociologist's blog post that has, believe it or not, over 14,000 likes on Facebook, in which she offers 21 tips for the incoming college class of 2021. They're great tips. I'd love to read them all to you right now and sort of get you started off in the right direction, but I'm headed somewhere else with these comments, so I'm hoping you'll just bear with me for a few minutes. I also had beautiful summertime photographs come across my feed from someone with a really remarkable eye. She sent close-ups of freshly picked strawberries and haunting images of pathways through the deep woods, composed to draw the viewer into an appreciation of the vibrancy and poignancy of the summer world around us. In another post, an activist environmental writer sent news of her recent invitation to give a TED Talk about the toxic legacy of plastics, sharing the excitement and also the very real fear inspired for her by the chance to engage such a critical public health issue, both live and for a potentially endless digital TED Talk audience. I had an update from a talented writer who told me about some very difficult life questions he's been struggling with, and their intersections with long conversations he and I had had in the past. This email brought me to tears through the honesty, the vulnerability, and the really piercing insight of the writing. I also heard from a scholar activist who studies political violence, who asked me to contribute to a bank of resources to help faculty advocate for undocumented students at this time of alarming changes to US policy. A resource bank they updated again in August in the aftermath of terrible white supremacist violence in Charlottesville. Another post included adorable pictures of a 3-year-old throwing out a pitch and high-fiving Slugger, the mascot, at a Portland Sea Dogs minor league baseball game, just one of many amusing summer adventures for this special kiddo's family. And the final one I'll share with you this morning is an update I got from a fellow sociologist about her keynote address at a conference promoting equity in the construction trades, focused on how to expand inclusion for women, people of color, and LGBTQ workers in jobs that pay a truly sustainable wage. So the obvious question is, why in the world am I listing off all of these things this morning? You might almost wonder if I just grabbed some random Facebook posts and emails to get out of coming up with something to say to you this morning. But I've got a reason, I promise. All of these summer updates have a connection to everyone here today, because everything I listed came from former students who graduated at least 5 years ago, and some as far as 20 or more years back. All of them are people whose senior thesis I advised. All of them took multiple courses of mine, and all of them started college as strangers to me. For whatever reason, they picked a course I happened to teach. Now, a few of you students out there will still be in touch with me in 5 or 10 or 20 plus years from now, and whoever you are, I look forward to meeting you soon. But more importantly, I hope that all of you will be in touch with one or more of your Bates professors for years to come. Every faculty member sitting out there with you has their own stories of former students with whom they've developed lasting relationships, connections forged in learning together and sharing a passion for a particular set of topics and commitments in the world. And like me, all of those other professors got started on forming those relationships by watching strangers arrive on campus as new students. So whether you're a professor or a student, right here, sitting within 10 or 20 yards of you, I couldn't just say look to your left and right like Walter did because the faculty are in a different spot than the students, but somewhere within 10 or 20 yards of you, faculty and students, are strangers who will become very special to you. And that's one of the joys of working here. Every year brings a new group of strangers with fresh energy and fresh ideas to our campus. And here we are now, coming together on the day before classes begin for the new academic year, constituting a refreshed and renewed Bates because of everything that you bring with you. Your energy and insights, your talents and life experiences bring us all a world of new possibilities. Over the summer, while I was enjoying those updates from inspiring former students, and there were many, many more beyond those I shared, you'd be horrified if you knew how long it was in my first draft, how many of those I could come up with. You were getting ready to come join us here on campus. And one task that was part of your summer prep was to pick out the courses you hope to take this fall. Now, I bet you poured through the options pretty carefully, all those course possibilities, all those first-year seminars, all those other courses. And maybe you thought about the professor, maybe you took a quick look at one of those online professor rating sites. But I think it's more likely you thought about the topics of those courses, each of you picking your own unique combination of subjects you wanted to explore as part of your broad liberal arts education. As you were picking out those courses, we were busy back here too. Bates professors were researching in our labs, creating in our studios, advocating with organizations promoting the public good, gathering evidence in archives or in the field, crunching numbers, writing articles and books, and pursuing all sorts of ideas and action in the many fields we are so passionate about. We were also preparing courses, our paths beginning to cross with yours as we watched members of the incoming class pop up on our online enrollment lists. But still, you were just names, strangers with whom we would eventually get to share our passion for those many fields. So now it's time for all of that to really unfold. Throughout move-in and orientation, I know you new students have met some of the amazing staff members with whom you'll also develop transformative relationships. From dining services and physical plant to the student affairs staff and the registrar's office, from the Harwood Center to the Office of Intercultural Education, from athletics to the college store to so many more. These people will be part of your journey at Bates, and you will become part of theirs. You've taken a walking tour around Lewiston, and I hope all of you will continue to enjoy the rich history, striking architecture, many cultures and faiths, the activities, shops, and restaurants, as well as the natural beauty that your community has to offer. This is your home now in many ways, and you should get out there and get to know it if you aren't already happening to be from right nearby. And for some of you, I know from long experience doing this kind of work, that you'll build some of the most transformative relationships of all by getting even more deeply involved in this community, by working with, learning from, and living alongside the many local community members you'll meet and the many local community initiatives with which you'll participate. But my main focus this morning is the faculty angle on all of this, so I especially want to emphasize new relationships with the professors you meet in your courses. The first-year seminar that is already met, and the other courses that begin tomorrow and Thursday. Maybe already, maybe tomorrow, but definitely over time, you'll begin to find the particular faculty members with whom you'll forge those especially deep bonds. I hope you're eager to get into the classroom, to get started learning with and from your new professors, and I can assure you we're eager for that too. We're also eager to see how you transform and engage our campus with your fresh energy and perspective, joining with classmates who've been here longer to keep pushing for all that Bates College aspires to be. You'll throw yourselves into local politics, create art, start organizations and teams, or help sustain and transform existing ones. You'll protest inequities and injustices you see happening right here on our campus and beyond, keeping all of us accountable to our best ideals at this deeply troubling time. As you do all that, you'll find support from particular professors and staff members, from the broader community, and from your peers. But you will also provide support to all of those people, bringing your own talents and passions into the story of Bates and the story of Lewiston. I hope that for many of you new students, the people and places you've encountered during orientation so far have left you excited and hopeful about your future at Bates. But I also know this is a time of complex emotions, and Walter referred to this well in his comments, a potent mix of anxiety and anticipation, of new possibilities and sadness for what you've left behind, of excitement and loneliness and even disappointing moments. There are lots of faculty, staff, and fellow students who will help you make your way through all of that. We'll all have good times and tough challenges in the year ahead, and it's a very challenging time in the United States and the world. But along with that support you'll get from faculty, staff, and fellow students, I know you will offer your own wisdom and energy back to all of those other folks as they too navigate life's complexities and society's injustices. When I teach a first-year seminar, one of the assignments I give is to ask students to post just 3 words about Convocation. We discuss those words the next day, and we come back to them again at mid-semester, so we can talk over how the opening excitement is matching up against the more nuanced reality. Several times now at a reunion I hold for my first-year seminar students 4 years later, just before their graduation, I've shared a word cloud of the words they posted, together with some images of their convocation ceremony. And guess what they say? They say, "What? I don't remember that assignment." They don't really remember much about Convocation's specific content either. But what they do tend to remember is the feeling of the event, the sense of anticipation and anxiety, that eager readiness to go ahead and get started. Let's get started. Now, I hope to see many of you new students in my classroom over the next 4 years, but for the handful of you out there I come to know best, I bet you'll be surprised if I remind you that I was the faculty speaker at your convocation. You will probably say, "What? That was you?" But I hope you might vaguely remember feeling a new layer of welcome had been added to the many you'd heard throughout orientation. A new possibility had been suggested for you to look forward to. And I hope that if I remind you what I talked about, you'll feel that some of the possibilities I sketched have been realized for you. And of course, that's my hope for all of the faculty and students gathered here today. May you begin tomorrow and in the semesters to come to forge new relationships with each other, and among those, find the particularly special ones that will continue on for decades. Connections that leave you students wanting to update your former professors on your achievements, your struggles, your moments of joy, and your moments of loss, teaching us as much as we taught you. Welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us, and best wishes for getting started on those relationships and all of the other possibilities that lie ahead.
Please join me in a word of interfaith benediction in whatever posture or manner is most comfortable for you. Holy One, Sacred Many, this morning we stand upon the shore of this sacred moment, a moment when many streams converge into one large ocean. Each new student has forged ahead in a river of academic work, robust extracurriculars, athletic goals, artistic endeavors, and meaningful relationships. That river has led them to this unfamiliar and vast coastline. As each unique soul learns to navigate these new waters, may they find faculty who engage and inspire them, parents and family who support and uphold them, friends who share life compassionately with them, belief in something that is bigger than themselves which will sustain them, and may they find an inner compass that guides their sails towards purpose and meaning. In the name of all that is holy, may it be so. Amen.